My name is Ollie. The physics and factors involved in designing a surfboard for Victor Harbour. Well, firstly, I really wanted to do something I was genuinely interested in. So I kind of grew up on the beach, and I've been interested in surfing for the last, almost not quite 18 years, but about 10, 15 years or something like that. But I'd never really gotten really into it, and I wanted to know a bit more about more surfboard design. And I'm not that much of a hands-on kind of person, so I wanted to get, develop a few skills in that area and stuff like that. So firstly, I, broke it down to surfing, and then I wanted to do surfboard design, and then it kind of came to, how could I make it unique? And that's when I came to, choosing Victor Harbour, because I lived near there for, a long part of my life and stuff like that. So that's how I kind of developed it into that question. And then the physics side of things, I'd been studying physics at school, but I wanted to know a bit more about waves and stuff like that, and how the relationship between a surfboard and a wave actually worked. So that's how it all kind of came together like that eventually. Firstly, I booked a few interviews with about 3 or 4 people, a few locals to Port Elliot, a surfboard business owner, a business shaper, and also a family friend who'd been one of the original surfers back in Cactus, who discovered a few beaches in Cactus back in the day. So I booked interviews through them, and then that was for more specific information to do with, Victor Harbour and South Australian waves. But when it came to more the board design, I did talk to the shaper, but a lot was online and in books. And some of these books actually came from the people I interviewed with. So yeah, it was mainly interviews, the internet and books. Well, basically it was a product that I made. So as I said, I interviewed one of the shapers, and he was lucky enough to give me some time, out of his own time, to come into his workshop and actually make a proper board from all the research I'd done, taking all my own measurements. And basically it was a custom surfboard designed for Victor Harbour and for me and for the average swell. So basically I took a whole lot of data over about 2 or 3 months of the average swell conditions, and then from that I took, from there, that's where I designed the surfboard based on those kind of things. So I ended up making a professional surfboard basically. Obviously the weather conditions change over a whole year, so my surfboard, well, I only ended up being able to take about 2.5 months of data to average, because I had to actually get a move on with my writing and the actual project. So I ended up only taking, it was about February and March, to only 2 months out of 12 months of the year's worth of data, and that was fine, and I came up with an average, swell condition, but that was only to the end of summer there. And basically throughout winter it gets bigger, changes, all those swell directions, swell size, winds, they all change. So, I mean, it didn't stump me in any way in my research, except it was just a fault, and that meant that basically my project wasn't as accurate as it could have been if I had taken average over different times of the year, which was what I'd, basically hoped to do, except I just couldn't achieve that in the time frame that we had. But yeah. I mean, obviously if you can get it going, I mean, a few of my friends got it started in the holidays. I mean, at least got their, their question organised, and at least an area or topic that they could study. They got it organised in the holidays before they started that year, even. And I kind of had the whole surfing idea, plus a few backups. So I think it's important to have, in my first few weeks of that term 1, I had my main topic of interest, but then I had about 4 or 5 other different areas, which varied from winemaking to sport injuries. I had about 5 or 6 different topics ready to go in case one failed. So I think initially, don't just focus on one area of interest. Make sure you have about 3 or 4 backups, just in case something goes wrong, or suddenly you change your mind, because a few people did change their mind, and it did set them back, and that time management came back to haunt them. But apart from that, I think just choose something you're genuinely interested in. A lot of people chose something they're vaguely interested in, or vaguely, involved in. So whether it be sport, they're just like, oh, I might do something on sport injuries or something like that, where they weren't actually genuinely interested in it. But I've been into surfing for like 10, 15 years, as I said, but I didn't know as much as I wanted to. So I was just taking my knowledge that step further. So when it came down to doing the writing, I was actually enjoying it, and I was interviewing people that were talking about interesting stuff to me. So I think just, yeah, something you're genuinely interested in was the big thing for me. So I did learn my lesson in the very early stages of the research project, because I didn't know how big it would be. I mean, I'd heard it was a big task. I knew it was a big task, but initially I fell a bit behind. So this year it's kind of just, it's always in the back of my mind in terms of when it comes to especially writing. So with my English assignments and stuff like that, basically to just get it started and get things underway and always be thinking about it and stuff like that. Obviously I'm not applying much of my now surfing knowledge to my different subjects at school, but in terms of like the tangible, work ethic and time management, it's definitely in the back of my mind when it comes to any assignment or revision or something like that, and I'm always kind of on the mark with due dates and stuff like that.